I apologize for some of the pictures, but there are a lot of memories along the way. So, hi everyone, I'm Miss Nasser. I am a history teacher here at Brooks. You might find me in the Het West dorm, on the JV soccer field, or the third basketball court. But most often, you can find me yelling about a history topic and diffusing essential oils on the fourth floor of the academic building. I consider myself a pretty positive person. I can see the bright side of life on most days. I love my job, teaching and coaching, advising, dorm parenting. It all brings me joy. But even I can get down. Yes, even Miss Nasser, someone who loves life, sing-alongs with my soccer team, and making history jokes, has had bouts of depression. These bouts of depression are known as situational depression. I've had situational depression a few times in my life, and I'm sure there will occur more in my future. Situational depression is short-term depression, usually triggered by a traumatic event or a life change. It includes sadness, lack of enjoyment of regular activities, avoiding social situations, sleep difficulties, and sometimes hopelessness. I'm not an expert on this, but I'm just here to tell you my story in hopes that it might help you or someone you care about. So let's go way back to when I was a kid. I was a happy kid growing up. I've had the same best friend since I've been 5 years old. I've also always wanted to show a picture of me as a kid in a chapel talk. So here's one of me with my best friend and my siblings and Santa, and one of me on my first day of kindergarten. I went to Catholic elementary school and middle school with my siblings, and my mom was a school nurse. I played sports. I loved school. I had a strong family who supported me and still does. Here they are. But really, sports were an important part of my life growing up. I played everything: soccer, softball, swimming, tennis, but my favorite sport was basketball. There were some warning signs about my stress levels, though. I did not have the best coping mechanisms for dealing with change and challenges. In 7th grade, I was diagnosed with stomach ulcers. I was really anxious to go to math class, and I was always feeling sick right before having a test. I had never struggled in school before. I loved school. This was something new for me. I felt sick all the time, but I didn't tell anyone. I kept my feelings inside and used sports as an outlet to relieve my stress. In high school, I played 3 varsity sports. If you didn't know already, Miss McDonough and I went to the same high school, Pingree. We played basketball together, and it was on the courts and on the fields where I was able to relieve my stress, get out my worries. But this all changed when I went to college. My freshman year, I went to Fordham University. I thought I was going to be a TV news anchor. I was going to be Katie Couric, or I was going to be a reporter for the Celtics. And I did the TV station at Fordham, and I hated it. And I also didn't play sports anymore. I didn't have any coping mechanisms for dealing with this change and how I was feeling. All of my friends from home loved college and seemed to be having the best times of their life. But for me, I was hiding under my bed crying. I wasn't eating well. I was isolating myself from the dorm and was known to people on campus as someone who was quiet and kept to themselves. If anyone knows me, they know I'm not quiet. I actually won loudest as my class superlative my senior year of high school. I felt as though all of my plans for the future had fallen apart, but I didn't tell anyone how I was feeling. I did go out and do community service, though. I volunteered at a middle school. And it was at this middle school where I found something I was passionate about: working with students, helping students with homework, tutoring. It got me out of my room and doing something meaningful. It allowed me to come out of my depression and make the decision to transfer to Boston University and study education. Changing plans wasn't a mistake. It was all part of my journey. I have to quote Dumbledore, but as Dumbledore said, happiness can be found even in the darkness of times if one only remembers to turn on the light. Working with students became my light. I was able to overcome this depression through working for others and volunteering. The second time I faced situational depression, I was in my first year of teaching. I worked in Providence, Rhode Island at a charter school. My students faced many difficulties in their lives: homelessness, hunger, and violence at home. My advisee, Trikel, would ask me at the end of each day if I could adopt her and take her home. I ended up caring for a student's family's dog, Princessa, for 6 months while his family moved from shelter to shelter in search of stability. I didn't just take home a dog, I took home their problems with me each night. I wasn't eating well. I was constantly worried about my students and their well-being. I was only 22 at the time, but I found myself playing the role of a parent in many of my students' lives. I could barely take care of myself and was giving my students all my energy. I would come home from teaching and collapse in my bed, crying every night alone in my room. I knew I needed to care for myself before I could truly care for others. It was during my time in Providence where I was reminded of the power of working out and endorphins. Working out releases feel-good endorphins that enhance your sense of well-being, and exercise takes your mind off your worries. I joined a women's basketball league and went to the gym regularly, and I began to take care of myself. I also began to talk to a therapist about how I was feeling. Talking about how I was feeling helped me release some of my emotions. I wasn't holding on to my students' problems anymore. Talking to someone and finally realizing and releasing my emotions was a cathartic experience for me. It was like a weight had been lifted off my chest. I felt less alone with my problems. Having a therapist gave me the freedom to talk about things that I couldn't admit to my family or friends. Though I did have a therapist, I didn't open up to anyone else that I was struggling. I felt ashamed that I couldn't handle it myself. I felt weak. I now know that's not true. Having mental illness doesn't mean that you're weak. It's just not something that you have to hide. Recently, this fall has been really hard for me. With a car accident at the start of the school year where 4 students I care about, 2 of whom are my advisees, Jeff and Kat, were hurt, I began to feel that familiar sense of depression creep in. But this time, I had strategies to help me through. I spent time with the people I love, did things that brought me joy. I talked and I cried and I talked and I cried a lot more. I didn't hold it in. I didn't hide under my bed sobbing. I took what I learned in my prior experiences. And part of that learning meant I was going to write this speech and talk to you about my experiences with depression. The night of the accident, I drove right to Brooks. I spent time with the Waters family and Ms. M, and just having a community around me helped calm me down. I'm so thankful for the Brooks community and how we can come together in times of sadness and times of celebration. I called up my best friend from high school, Audrey. I had her come over with her dog. I'm telling you, pet therapy is truly wonderful. I'm so thankful actually for the dogs on Brooks campus who bring me happiness, like my dog nieces, Zoe and Luna. I spent time sleeping. I spent time going for walks. I ate lots of ice cream. I talked to a lot of the teachers about how I was feeling, and they checked in on me, and they still do. Asking me how I was feeling is just something little, but I was so grateful for them doing it. I hugged each one of my advisees a bit tighter, and I tried to inject love into each of my classes for my students. And I told people how I was feeling. I went back to therapy, and I talked about how hard it was each day, but I didn't keep it bottled up inside. I worked out, I box. Sometimes hitting something is really great therapy. And remember, those feel-good endorphins are amazing. I'm not saying that it's easy to get out of bed each day, but I have amazing friends and colleagues and students who check in on me, who worked out with me, and let me sit on their couches, play with their dogs, their children. Now, I can't always promise you that it's going to be rainbows and butterflies along your journey. There are ups and downs in life. But if you can remember anything from this speech, I want you to remember that having a mental health condition is not a weakness. We need to talk about it. Don't let it take over your entire life. Don't be afraid to get help. We all need help at times. Don't be afraid to tell someone how you're feeling. I know you might be worried that people might think what people might think. I know I was, but there's really no reason to be ashamed of needing help sometimes. Get out of your room, volunteer, work out, laugh and cry with your friends, pet dogs, eat ice cream, and ask for help if you need it. I know you all hear a lot about mental illness, and I can't stand up here and say that I have all the answers. But what I can tell you is that I'm always here for you. I can tell you what's worked for me. I can tell you that you're not alone, and I can tell you that you are loved. So to conclude my speech, I just want to say how grateful I am to this entire Brooks community. It's not a perfect place, but nowhere is. It's a place where everyone really does care about each other. We're often busy running from class to class, meeting to meeting, but we truly are a kind and caring community. I'm forever grateful that I work here. So I want to end with some acknowledgments of how thankful I am for Brooks going into the Thanksgiving season. So I'm thankful for the history department, who's willing to be both serious and silly. They even indulged me in the Halloween history costume challenge, wearing light bulb hats and gunpowder sparklers, and impressed me with their chapel for Veterans Day on Tuesday. They're dedicated to their passions, and I wouldn't want anyone else on my team. I'm thankful for Mr. and Mrs. Waters, for their love and their support. They're role models of mine, and they inspire me in more ways than they know. Their jobs are not easy, but they do them with grace, and I'm so thankful for them and respect them immensely. I'm also thankful for Ms. M and Ms. O'Brien for their love and their support. Having good friends is so important in life. They let me vent out my emotions and run to get coffee with me. I appreciate having friends who just happen to be my colleagues, who push me to be a better teacher and a better person. The entire faculty at Brooks inspires me to work hard, be creative, and supports me in this crazy boarding school life that we love so much. Thank you to each and every teacher and faculty member at Brooks. I'm also thankful for the little kids here at Brooks, especially Cal and Ainsley, Felix, Reese, Bowen, Philip. Having meals with them brings me so much joy and happiness. We're so lucky to have little kids running around and playing on campus. They remind me to take time to play and to dream and to laugh. I'm thankful for my advisees, Jeff, Molly, John, Kat, Delia, Courtney, Raquel, T, and Anna. Each one of you makes my days brighter, full of coffee runs and good conversation, and I'm impressed by each of your many talents. I'm so lucky to be your advisor. And I'm thankful for the beauty of this campus and being able to coach JV soccer this fall. Sometimes at soccer practice, I make Mr. Nasser and my team stop and just look at the clouds coming over the fields or the beauty of the changing seasons. I'm so thankful that I get to work at a place that's so beautiful. Now here come some of the embarrassing photos. I'm thankful for my students. The ones I teach this year, the ones that I've taught in the past. I love when students come that I've taught before and check in with me and come by my class. And I'm especially thankful for this year's graduating class. I feel a special closeness with them as we started Brooks at the same time. 4 years has truly flown by, and I'm so proud of all this class has accomplished and will continue to accomplish. I'll save some of the mushy stuff for later in the spring, but I've truly loved watching you grow and mature. Just remember that it's okay to change your mind. It's okay to go off script, making a new plan along the way. That's what makes life interesting. Often we look at the destination, such as when I graduate high school, when I get this internship, or when I go to this prestigious college. We're so focused on the destination that we forget to look at the here and now. Appreciate the moment. As Kanye West said, if you have the opportunity to play this game of life, you need to appreciate every moment. A lot of people don't appreciate the moment until it's past. I'm so thankful for everything here at Brooks and beyond. So, in the spirit of Thanksgiving, take note of all you're grateful for and share it. Tell your friends, family, teachers, and advisors how thankful you are for their friendship and guidance. So, thank you all for allowing me to speak here in chapel today. I'm grateful for each and every one of you, and just remember, you are all loved.